My husband left me for not being a good enough mom after I nearly died giving birth. Now he's threatening to take our daughter away. I, 31F, have been together with my husband Alex, 33M, for 7 years, married for 4 years. So Alex was always really excited about the prospect of children from the beginning of our relationship. I was always on the fence. I've seen how hard single moms have it. I promised myself I'd never be in that position. Plus, I work as a software engineer. I love my career, and I didn't want to give it up to be a mom. After Alex and I got married, those fears went away. We were very much in love. I felt safe with him. I told him my fears, and he said all the right things to make them vanish. So we tried for a baby and had our daughter Ramona 2 years after we got married. The pregnancy and first year with the baby was extremely hard on me. I had multiple health problems during and after the pregnancy that were life-threatening and altered my body permanently. I was disabled and nearly died once in the 6 months after I gave birth, and during this time my husband grew distant and became angry frequently when we'd speak. I spent a lot of time in and out of the hospital and was unable to work, so a lot of the baby care went to him during this time. It was all I could do to stay alive and get better, being separated from my daughter and husband so much. Eventually, I did get better enough to help more with the baby, but after I was discharged from the hospital, he barely spoke to me. I want to clarify early that at no time did I ever neglect our daughter if I was able to care for her. I leaned on him a lot during this period, but I was also fighting for my health and my life so that I could continue to be there for her. If I had pushed myself too hard, I would have made it worse, or be dead. We stayed in a state of limbo like this for a while. I was still in recovery, not back to 100% yet, but able to resume a somewhat normal life, and we shared more responsibility with Ramona. I tried talking to him many times over the next 6 months, but it was more of the same thing. He wouldn't speak to me, or he'd get angry, and every little thing I did insist I was making things up and blame me for somehow criticizing him. It was a constant deflection from whatever was bothering him. I got another job about 9 months after the pregnancy, and things seemed to improve for a while, or at least I thought. Not long after Ramona's first birthday, Alex served me with divorce papers. He said he'd fallen out of love with me a long time ago, and he was ready to start anew. I was in shock. Things had started to improve between us, but he explained that was because he'd decided to leave and he felt less unhappy. It was a Saturday when this happened, so I made sure he was going to be home to care for Ramona for the weekend. Then I packed a bag and left until Sunday evening. I didn't say where I was going, and truthfully, I didn't really go anywhere but drive. I drove 2 states over by the time I stopped. I needed to think. When I got back Sunday evening, he was pissed I'd left him alone with our daughter. He's always seemed really put off any time he had to care for her alone. This time was no exception. I sat him down and very carefully said, "I will grant you a no-contest divorce, but I am not accepting full custody of Ramona." If he was only pissed before, he was explosive now, and everything he hated about me finally came out. That I was a horrible mother, that I wasn't strong enough to even be a mother, that I was too weak to carry a child, and now I was abandoning her. I very calmly stated that I loved her dearly and would not abandon her, that I would pay child support and visit her every other weekend, that I would be there for her in any way I could. But I had been very clear with him when we got married that I would never be a single mom. He became borderline violent at this, grabbing things like he was going to throw them and screaming that I was ruining his life on purpose. I wasn't going to stick around to be talked to like this, so I went and checked on Ramona, gave her a kiss, then grabbed my bag and left again. A couple days later, his mother texted me. He'd left Ramona with her for a few days, and she had some nasty things to say to me, that a mother should never leave her child, etc. I told her it wasn't her business, and that her son doesn't get a free pass to restart his life because his wife nearly died when she was pregnant, and he became resentful with the responsibility. He's also blown up my phone asking me when I'm going to come back so you can take your daughter, but I've only replied, "I've already told you what's going to happen here." I love my daughter immensely, and I will be a provider for her. I will always support her, but I won't be her primary parent. So, Eta? Update 1. I wasn't expecting to come back with a major update so soon, but a lot has happened in the past few days, and I wanted to share what's been going on. I still can't quite wrap my head around everything that's unfolded. It feels like I'm living in a nightmare, but also in some sort of strange reality, where everything I thought I knew about myself and my relationship is falling apart. To begin with, after the last exchange with Alex, I took a step back to really think about what my options were. I thought I had already made up my mind about how things should go, but this entire situation is starting to spiral in ways I didn't expect. On Monday, after I left the house again and had that confrontation with Alex, I thought I would get some space, some time to clear my head and really process everything. The divorce was already painful enough, but I was hopeful that at least I could make a clean break for my own mental health and the future of Ramona. But of course, Alex wasn't done. He wasn't letting go, and neither was his mother. It's honestly been a whirlwind of texts, voicemails, and confrontations that have left me feeling even more bewildered. Alex started calling me nonstop, and I honestly didn't know what to say to him anymore. He kept saying that I was abandoning my family, that I was choosing my career over my daughter, and that I was a failure as a wife and a mother. I've heard these words from him before, but it's different now. It's more aggressive, more hurtful, as if he's just tearing apart any sense of self-worth I've left. I tried to keep my calm, telling him that I had made my decision, and I would continue to be there for Ramona, but I would not be her primary caregiver. I've been firm with him about that, and he's not taking it well at all. One thing I didn't anticipate, and I'm ashamed to admit that I didn't see it coming, is just how much pressure Alex has put on Ramona's relationship with me. He's using her as leverage now, as if somehow my not being the primary caregiver means I'm abandoning her emotionally too. And the worst part is that his family is completely on his side. His mother has been sending me constant messages, calling me selfish and heartless for wanting a divorce, telling me I'm ruining Ramona's life. It's honestly been a lot to handle. I've tried to explain that I'm doing this because I know my own limits, because I've seen the consequences of pushing myself too hard, and because I need to be the best version of myself for Ramona, even if that means stepping back as the primary parent. But no one seems to understand that. No one seems to care that I nearly died during pregnancy and that I'm still recovering from health problems that don't just go away. I still have medical appointments, and I still have to manage my health with great care. And on top of all that, I'm still adjusting to the new reality of my life. The last straw for me, honestly, came when Alex went behind my back and took Ramona to stay with his mom for a few days. I didn't even know about it until his mom texted me, furious that I hadn't been acting like a real mother. She sent me a long message accusing me of being weak and irresponsible, saying that if I loved my daughter at all, I wouldn't be leaving her in the hands of a father who is too selfish to handle the responsibility. It felt like a complete betrayal, and it pushed me over the edge. I sent back a message saying I wasn't going to engage with her, and that she had no right to judge me. She has no idea what it's been like to be in my shoes, to feel like I was fighting for my life, and I told her so. But that only made things worse. I didn't even talk to Alex that night. He wasn't home when I got back to our house. His mom had kept Ramona with her for a couple of days, and I was feeling the pressure of it all. I'm not an emotional person, but I broke down when I saw that Ramona had been with her for a whole 2 days. She's my daughter, and I love her more than anything in this world, but I couldn't help but feel like I was losing her. It felt like everything I had been working toward in my marriage, everything I had tried to fight for, was falling apart. And to be honest, I felt guilty. So the next day, Alex and I finally spoke face to face. He told me he was done trying and that he didn't want me back. He seemed so cold and indifferent, almost like he had already moved on mentally. I think that's what hurt the most. That after everything we went through, after all the years we spent together, he could just throw it all away so easily. And when I tried to talk to him about what was going on with me, about how hard it had been and how I was struggling to even be the person I used to be, he dismissed it all. He said he didn't care about my health issues anymore, that I was making excuses. He said he couldn't love me anymore, and it was my fault. That's when I realized he wasn't just leaving me, he was blaming me for everything. He had emotionally checked out, and I didn't even realize it until it was too late. I'm still processing everything, but the one thing I do know for sure is that I'm not going to let him guilt-trip me into going back into a situation that's unhealthy for me. I can't keep trying to fix something that's already broken, no matter how much it hurts. I can't keep bending myself into a pretzel to be the perfect mom or perfect wife when I know I can't handle it. I know that might make me sound selfish to some, but I've been down the road of self-sacrifice, and it nearly killed me. And I refuse to let that happen again. As for Ramona, I've already been looking into legal advice. I don't want to fight Alex, but I also can't be in a situation where I'm constantly walking on eggshells, trying to prove that I'm still a good mother. I'm a mother in my own way, and I'll fight for my daughter's well-being. I'll continue to be there for her as much as I can, but I will not let anyone guilt me into being something I'm not. So, I'm not sure where this is going, and I'm not sure what's next, but I do know that I'm not giving up. I'll keep updating when I can, but I wanted to share where I'm at right now. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm trying to take things one step at a time. Thank you to everyone who's been supportive, and for the ones who have criticized me, I understand. But right now, I have to take care of myself. That's all I can do. Update 2. I wasn't sure when I'd post again, or even if I would, but the past few days have been a roller coaster, and I felt like I needed to update this thread. The amount of advice, support, and even some harsh criticism I've received from all of you really helped me think a lot clearer about what I want and about what's really going on here. A lot has shifted, and I'm still wrapping my head around it, but here's where things stand now. I want to start by saying that after the last update, I took some time to really evaluate where I stand with Alex and everything that's going on. There were a few days where I just kept to myself, stayed away from social media, and tried to reflect. But then, something I absolutely wasn't expecting happened, and it threw everything into question. I never saw it coming. A few days ago, I was out for a walk, just clearing my mind, when I received a call from a lawyer I didn't recognize. Turns out it was Alex's attorney. My heart sank when I saw the name. I thought it was going to be more of the same. Some legal talk, maybe another demand for full custody, or an attempt to argue that I was unfit to be Ramona's mother. But no, it was actually a call that shocked me to my core. Apparently, Alex had hired a private investigator to follow me, to find out what I was doing, where I was going, and even who I was spending time with. I felt sick to my stomach hearing this, and I couldn't believe it was even a possibility. The lawyer on the other end explained that Alex had been gathering evidence for the divorce, and had even gotten information about a supposed affair I might be having. I didn't even know how to respond. The thing is, I haven't been seeing anyone. I've been so focused on dealing with the fallout of my marriage, managing my health, and making sure Ramona is taken care of in whatever way I can. But in Alex's mind, this whole situation has spiraled into some conspiracy where I'm supposedly leaving him for someone else. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Why would Alex be doing this? Why would he assume the worst about me when he already knew how sick I was, how much I fought to just stay alive? I don't have an answer for that. But I do know one thing. Alex wasn't trying to move on. He was trying to punish me. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just about Ramona or even about the divorce. This was Alex lashing out because he had built this image of me in his mind. And when I didn't meet those expectations, he couldn't handle it. He didn't love me anymore. Fine. But that didn't mean he wanted me to move on, or to do what was best for myself. He wanted me to be a wreck. This situation escalated even further when Alex sent me an email the following day. It was lengthy, cold, and surprisingly manipulative. The email started with accusations about my lack of commitment to Ramona, that I was emotionally abandoning my daughter, and that he was forced to take care of everything on his own. But then it took a turn. He confessed that he had been feeling extremely guilty about everything. I honestly didn't know what to make of this. He wrote that he was unsure about his decision to divorce, that maybe he was too quick to judge me, and that the pressure of being a father had broken him in ways he didn't realize. It was almost like he was walking back everything he said in the past month, and for a brief moment, I thought I had read something wrong. But that wasn't even the kicker. The bombshell was at the very end of the email. Alex confessed that he had been going to therapy. This was something I never thought he would do. The man who always brushed off any attempts to talk about his feelings, the one who said he was fine when things were falling apart, had actually been seeing a therapist for the past few weeks. Apparently, the therapist had helped him realize that he had been emotionally neglectful toward me, and that his anger was coming from his own unresolved issues. He even went as far as to say he might still love me. but he wasn't sure if he could forgive himself for how he treated me. This was the part that really threw me for a loop. For so long, Alex had been so cold, so removed, that I never imagined this side of him existed. I didn't know what to think. I'd always felt like I was the only one trying to make the relationship work, and here he was, admitting to some degree of responsibility for our falling out. But after everything that had happened, the distance, the anger, the emotional abuse, it was hard to know how to process this sudden shift. I'm not going to lie. Part of me felt a tiny sliver of hope. A small part of me wondered if there was a chance for us to rebuild, to find a way to make our family work. But I immediately shut that thought down. Because as much as I wanted things to be different, as much as I wanted to believe that Alex could change, I couldn't forget the way he treated me. I couldn't ignore the months of emotional neglect, the way he kept blaming me for everything, and the fact that when I was at my lowest, he seemed to check out entirely. I'm still not sure what the right choice is. Part of me wants to take a step back and see if there's any possibility of reconciling with Alex, but I'm also scared. I'm scared that he's using therapy as a way to manipulate me, to make me feel guilty and confused. I'm scared that if I give in, I'll end up in the same toxic situation again, where I have to do all the emotional labor, and he gets to sit back and claim it was too hard for him. Right now, I'm focusing on taking care of myself and trying to figure out what's best for Ramona. She's my priority, and while Alex seems to be going through some personal growth, I'm not sure it's enough for me to consider going back to him. I'm still weighing my options, trying to see if we can co-parent in a way that's healthy for her and for both of us. The legal situation is still up in the air. I've consulted with a lawyer about the private investigator and the custody situation. Alex's behavior is concerning, and I'm not taking any chances. I don't know how things are going to play out, but I do know that I'm not going to let him manipulate me into staying in an unhealthy relationship, no matter how much he claims to love me. Anyway, I'll keep updating as things progress, but right now I'm trying to stay focused on moving forward. There's no perfect solution here, and I'm taking it one step at a time. And thanks again for the support, and sorry for the long update. I know some of you are probably still on the fence about my decisions, but I appreciate your insights.